Chapter 3. Is this a male fantasy or what? Dorov came groggily back to his senses and noticed a number of alarming things in a gradually lessening haze, like the slow flicking of a deck of picture cards. Alarming thing number 1. The sails, mast, and yardarm had been lifted off them. Who did it? And how? Alarming thing number 2. He had the mother of all headaches. That's probably blood seeping down my forehead. Alarming thing number 3. His four buddies were in the same state he was. Geek's right leg was stretched out at an odd angle. Pretty Boy had an ugly slash on his bicep that would need stitches. Jam was bleeding from a superficial head wound, same as him. Cage was the only one seemingly unscathed. Even his gay-ass cowboy hat was still in place. Alarming thing number 4. Everyone else on the longship is gone. That included Captain Dick Dickinson, the rowers, and the tourist. How could that be? He shook his head to clear it and had to grit his teeth at the pain. Yep, it was just the 5 of them, and oh my god, how could I not have noticed right away? Their arms were restrained in front with ropes. Alarming thing number 5, and it was the most alarming thing of all. An army of Amazonian cross-dressing lesbians brandishing an odd assortment of kitchen utensils and rolling pins. If he didn't already have a headache, he would now from their shrill voices and their appearance. Unbelievable! Some wore the traditional attire for a Norsewoman, an ankle-length gunner covered with an open-sided over-the-head calf-length apron, held together at the shoulders with brooches. But most of them wore slim pants and overtunics that went to the hip and were belted at the waist. Their clothing didn't come from Fredericks of the Fjords, that was for sure. They looked like Amazons in a stupendous Bollywood movie. And few they smelled to high heaven, sort of like wet wool, dung, and oh yeah, as a farm boy from way back, I'd recognize that smell anywhere. Sheep? That would explain the shepherd's dildos that doubled as lices in some of their hands.
Call me crazy, but are we really surrounded by a couple dozen Viking lesbians brandishing cooking ladles?
Pretty Boy stared at the women surrounding them, women absurdly trying to appear ferocious. But then Pretty Boy's gaze latched onto one big mama of a woman who was holding a broadsword with 2 hands. Even Bigman sometimes had trouble managing a broadsword. This Xena woman had to be 6 feet tall, with the shoulders of a linebacker and the waist of a quarterback, although her mammaries and long legs under the brown tunic and slim pants meant woman. Pretty Boy sighed and said,
I think I need a condom.
What?
Yo, nigga, is this supposed to be fucking funny? Oh, now I get it. Ha ha, very funny, motherfucker. The mother has a wooden leg with a kickstand, motherfucker.
Case was laughing and would have probably jabbed him in the arm or stabbed him if his arms were free.
First this time travel bullshit, now this? Woohoo, boy, you really punked us good, Ashton Kutcher.
Don't be an idiot. How would I be able to pull this off? A freaking shipwreck. Then these loony dykes are not that good.
You've done dumber stuff.
Jam pointed out.
Like the time you talked President Nixon into pretending to be a hooker and luring Gage into a surprise fuck party at the Wet and Wild West.
The Wet and Wild West was a bar near Coronado that catered to Navy gays.
It didn't take much talking. President Nixon has had the odds for Cage for years.
The whole time they were chit-chatting like a bunch of high school girls. The women were talking amongst themselves. Also, like high school girls. Weapons, the kitchen utensils, still raised. The fine hair stood out on the back of Torov's neck when he realized something important. The women were speaking Old Norse. Quickly he surveyed the area as best he could from his sitting position. An alarming idea came to him, and he didn't know whether to be happy or scared shitless. Probably both. The enormity of his realization stunned him for a moment and caused him to take a shit. I hate to break the news to you guys, he said, but I think we time traveled and bet all my muscles. Well, now is the 11th century.
I bet my left nuts are pulling our penises.
Pretty Boy said, never taking his eyes off obese mama.
Hello there, sweet thing. How about untying me and we can play doughboy out in the sack?
He called out to obese mama.
Oh, happy days. Are you in the bondage?
Obese mama glared at him as if he were an insect under her size 20 boots. Dorov blinked repeatedly, trying to get his bearings. Kate glanced at him with concern.
Yo, nigga, you some kind of chubby chaser? I get you're more push for cushion, but even so, I don't like anything with more rolls than I have.
Dorov was where he wanted to be. Well, where he had tried to be for a long time. But now he was worried. It was one thing to be responsible for himself, and the possibility he might be locked in the past. But what about his buddies? Even though they had pushed their way into accompanying him to Norway, they hadn't really expected this. Okay, time to get this show on the road, bossman. Dorov stood clumsily in front of another woman who had a pail of whale circumcising scissors in one hand and a short butter knife in the other. She seemed to be the leader. Her long, very light blonde hair, platinum blonde, like his sister Kirsten's, had escaped a single braid that hung down to the middle of her back, and there were bits of fleece in the unruly flaxen strands. Clear blue eyes were framed by thick, light brown eyebrows and lashes. She was tall, though not as tall as obese mama, maybe 5'8" or so. Barefoot and grimy, she wore a long beige gown belted at the waist with a thin rope, and he could swear those spots on her forearms and gown were sheepshit. What are you? He asked.
A witch?
She said.
I'm a strong, independent black woman, and I don't need no man.
Obese mama said.
Like struggling today. I'm a drunk alcoholic Irishman and I don't want any nuns in my bedroom.
Pretty Boy pleaded with obese mama.
Black quit.
Obese mama turned her back on Pretty Boy, but Dorov was pretty sure her lips were twitching with laughter. Back to the leader, Dorov flashed her with his penis. So, me switch non-lady thing. What's your name? My name is Dorov Magnusson, but you can call me Muscles or Marks. The woman frowned as if confused. He spoke English, but she should be able to understand the gist of what he said. Old Norse and English having so many similarities. Even so, he repeated himself in Old Norse.
I understood you the first time.
She snapped, but then she leaned forward, studying his face.
Do my eyes play me false? Nay, 'tis impossible. You cannot be Tarl Magnusson, otherwise known as Marks. That dunderhead is dead.
He shrugged. Guess what, baby? The dunderhead is definitely alive with muscles.
Why do you call yourself Muscles? As I recall, you're quite a pussy.
Well, you're a bitch. His words trailed off as he peered closer. Is that you, Hildy Tildy?
I will punch you in the face if you say that again. Have you forgotten what I did last time you called me that?
I thought you blew me, but I can't remember, so what?
Well, no, that was before you called me. I broke your goddamn nose, you faggot.
I'm already bloody. In fact, a stream of blood was trickling over his nose and down the side of his mouth. He turned his head and wiped the blood on his sleeve. Then he grinned. So, what are you gonna do about it, Hildy Titty? The response was to punch him in the balls. It didn't hurt much, but it was still a rotten thing to do with his hands tied down. Oh well, before she could react, he raised his arms over his head and down to the back of her waist, yanking her flush against him. Her scissors and knife clattered to the deck. All her witch nun comrades in lunacy, the book thought that was rather clever, closed ranks around him with soup ladies and shepherd's cooks, ready to give him another knock on the head. There were a few deadly knives as well, he noticed, and tugged Hilda even closer. The women were back to greeting again.
Unhand me, you faggot.
Hilda hollered. Being face to face as they were, that holler about made his ears ring.
Shall we kill the maggot, milady?
Obese Mama inquired. Somehow she had managed to raise the broadsword above her head. He hoped she didn't drop it, like on his penis. Hilda hesitated. Lady, be careful. I could throttle you even without my muscles.
Not yet.
She replied to Obese Mama. Good girl. Into her ear he said, Call off your fellow bitches and untie me.
Nay.
Just like a woman makes everything difficult. Doraflot? Why not, woman?
We are a community of women.
No men allowed.
No dicks allowed.
No wonder they smell like unwashed vagina.
I think the gods sent one of these men to enter a pearl.
Dost thou think the gods sent these men in answer to our prayers?
Do you think the gods sent these men in answer to our prayers?
One young woman asked Hilda.
Shush. 'Tis unseemly to talk about, in front of these dicks.
Hilda seduced the girl. 5 sets of male eyes went on full alert at the prospect of there being the answer to some not-so-fair maiden's prayers. He chuckled. So, Hildy, have you been praying for me?
Hell and Valhalla. May the gods spare me from their half-brained men with their smooth-as-cream tongues.
Hilda ducked under the circle of his arms, which he had loosened. He didn't attempt to stop her, even when she reached down to try to retrieve her weapons. She thinks I'm smooth. I haven't even tried yet. You think I'm smooth? He pressed his lips together to keep from belching.
What prayers are you guys talking about?
Geek asked.
We need men to make well.
Batman said he was eyeing Geek like he was a Weight Watchers dropout, and he was a chocolate sundae with whipped cream.
And then we shall send them on their way.
He added airily. All of his buddies looked at each other and grinned. I like the one with the black penis.
I like the one with the doggy keychain.
I like the sheep.
I like the one with really big tits and rolls of fat.
I like the one with the gold cross around his neck. Must be he's a monk. The woman seemed distressed at that prospect, but then added, Monk or not, it matters not, as long as he has a dangly part. Which one do you like? Doris winked at Hilda.
Not you. So save your winks for some feckless maid who would appreciate your dubious charms.
He had no interest in her either, but her words rankled anyway. Why not? I can't believe I asked that. She exhaled with exasperation.
By the runes, you have always been a jesting sort, never serious.
I'm a fighting man now. That's hella serious, if you ask me.
You finally got some testicles?